Yo, people, we are back for another edition of Commissioner's Corner. I am your host from the most, NK, aka the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. And of course, this wouldn't be Commissioner's Corner without my co-host, the Pro Wrestling Encyclopedia, the UK's number one black pro wrestling historian himself. We got knowledge. How you feeling, my bro?
I'm good. I'm happy you didn't replace me because I was watching the show last week and SP3 did a bloody good job. So I was like, fuck, I hope I can come back next week.
Nah. It wouldn't be Commissioner's Corner without knowledge, man. But big up SP3. We had some good New Japan talk. Um, big up MAA in the comment section. You know, before we get started, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure if you're watching live, make sure you interact in the comment section. And if you're watching on replay, make sure you interact in the comment section down below, man. Down below, definitely. But yeah, as knowledge mentioned, last week was a good episode, man. Big up SP3 for the New Japan talk. We'll definitely have SP3 back on the show, and we'll definitely have SP3 and knowledge to talk about the greatness of WCW 2000. So we'll definitely have these man back. Big up Navy, big up Elijah, big up Ben. Yeah,
Ben.
man. Big up Ben Moxon, fam. But yeah, I think this is your first time watching live or commenting live, Ben. And obviously, we've been knowing you from the Discord and that, but I think it's your first time on CC. Let us know, fam. Let us know. But yeah, man, we are here to talk about AEW Dynasty. But before we get into the graps, before we get into the nitty-gritty, we're just gonna read off a few numbers, a bit of information about AEW Dynasty. So AEW Dynasty took place in the Chavez Arena, St. Louis, Missouri. It distributed around 6,307 tickets, and the amount of tickets allocated was around about 6.7, I believe, 6.7 thousand allocated tickets. So,
I was told that they sold every seat in there.
yeah,
Like they put hardside. They put some some extra seats for sale during the day, like around the stage and the hard camera, like some extra seats. But they sold all the tickets that were available up to that point. It's a 10,000 seat arena, so they sold every ticket that they could. So yeah, it was a good house, especially by current day standards. Yeah, although their pay-per-views always do well. It's the TV that is a different story, but yeah. It was a good house. I don't know what the gate is yet. I'll find that out when the Observer comes out on Friday.
Yeah. The gate, and obviously, and then the actual pay-per-view buys will come out at a later point in time. The estimates should be out by next week, right? The estimates, no.
No, well, you can get an estimate of, in the next few days. So
okay,
just pay attention to Brandon Thurston and David Meltzer for an estimate. We will discuss that next week, and then you'll get pretty much not the final number. The final numbers won't come back for months. You'll have an idea of what it is in the next few weeks anyway. Like the final numbers for pay-per-views, even to this day, they take ages to come through. Like years ago, and when I say years, I'm talking about the 90s. They'd be still collating these numbers 4 months after the show. And I was always told that you can never get an exact number as far as to the dot, the exact pay-per-view number. You'll never, unless it's super small. But if it's big and it's like a few 100,000, you'll never get to the exact number. It's always an estimate that you'll always get. And I to this day, I have no idea why. But the over-under, I don't know. I know the last show, Revolution did about 180.
Yeah.
A fantastic number. I think people need to understand when it comes to these pay-per-view numbers that AEW does. And I think if you look at them and you compare them to numbers in the past, which I've seen people doing, they only done 180,000 buys, and WWE in 2000 and whatever did, 300,000. It's like, in 2024, in the pay-per-view universe that we're in, with the access to so much bootlegging, like 180,000 for a wrestling show is absolutely fantastic, especially for at the $50 price mark when WWE years ago let everyone know that a pay-per-view is literally worth $9.99 for everything per month. Like, so, you know, when you can get 180,000 people to spend $50 on your show, even that's a one-off actually. So let's say 140,000 every single month. That is really impressive. Like, really.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, like you said, in a market where people aren't conditioned to necessarily buy pay-per-views because of streaming, because of, you know, networks and stuff like that, people are clamoring for an AEW network at this point. So for them to get, I mean, and if you look at their pay-per-view numbers relative to other promotions, you know, it really puts things into perspective in terms of other promotions who do pay-per-views. Like AEW's like pretty like solid in the pay-per-view department.
Well, they do really well. Even before, I mean, WWE would always do big numbers for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And they do decent numbers for the Rumble and Survivor Series towards the end. Not Survivor Series, the August one, SummerSlam. The SummerSlam numbers before the network came about, they were always fine or whatever. But if you look at the regular B shows that they did every month, towards the end, some of those shows were doing 65, 70,000 buys a month. And you think about that from 2013, 2014, like the fact that AEW are doing the numbers that they do now compared to WWE, who was doing those numbers years ago when in a bigger pay-per-view universe, when, not saying bootlegging didn't exist, but not like it does now.
Not like it does now. No.
It does now. So, you know, it's still pretty impressive, you know. And WCW, obviously at their peak, they did massive pay-per-view numbers, but, you know, WCW in 2000 were doing less than what AEW does now. Once again, in the bigger pay-per-view universe with cheaper pay-per-view and stuff. You know, by the way, I just want to say, I think if we talk about WCW 2000, I think we all need to watch the New Blood Rising show. I think we all need to work out a way where we can all watch this show together.
Yeah.
And consume this all together so that you and other people can see what it is that disgusts me about this whole thing. You know, there's something we need to work on.
Do you know what? It'll be in the worst. This is brainstorming, but maybe it might be a New Blood Rising watch along or something like that. Maybe, you know,
but in saying that, a watch along, we have to talk, and I think it's really important that you listen to what's going on. It's really important and to get context of what's going on, because the commentary was absurd. Everything about it was just ridiculous. And Tony Schiavone sitting there. You know, I saw people talking about Tony's face a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. And I said, no, he was disgusted. And I saw people, do you think he's going to quit? And I was like, quit for what? Like,
Tony Schiavone has seen a lot worse.
What? Like, that man had to sit out there and commentate all sorts of shit in the year 2000, 1999 and stuff. It's like, you know, it was Tony's idea to put the belt on David Arquette. So them hearing the CM Punk videos, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's just a regular Wednesday. But yeah, before we get into nitty gritty, I remember there was a brief comment from Tony Khan. I think maybe a couple of days before the pay-per-view. I think it was on like the weekend, where he said he's confident that AEW's catalog will be available on streaming in 2025. Now, he doesn't specify where exactly, but he's confident that the AEW catalog will be available on some sort of subscription service or network. Well, didn't say those words specifically, but that's what we can assume he's saying.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's his year for TV rights, and that won't affect us over here. We won't get that show over here. No, we got Fight over here, and we don't get the full catalog on Fight. We get a few pay-per-views, and we get the weekly TV and the archive, but we don't get everything. But I think Tony Khan, from what I understand, they're still in the exclusive negotiating period with Warner Brothers Discovery, so he can't speak to other networks yet. You know, I don't know. I haven't heard anything, or I haven't read anything, or no one is conversations that other people know has mentioned to me if they've heard anything about other networks wanting them. But, you know, why wouldn't you want the number one show on Wednesday that isn't the NBA? You know, so someone will want them. I don't know who that could be or what would be a better home for them than the one they've got now.
Yeah.
But it was apparently Warner Brothers Discovery aren't keeping the NBA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I read the other day. The chances of them keeping the NBA are pretty slim. They don't want to pay that much money. Obviously, things have changed. That's what I read last week. Apparently, they want the WNBA. There's been a lot of extra hoopla about the WNBA recently, hasn't there? So apparently, that. And if they don't want the NBA, well, then that's really good for Tony Khan, because that means they've got more money to spend.
Yeah,
yeah.
And one more thing on just like the finances front. Forbes recently released I guess an article articulating articulating some of the most popular quote unquote I think it was combat sports
Combat sports,
valuable combat sports promotion. And UFC was obviously number one, valued at 11.3 billion, with their 2023 revenue being 1.29 billion. WWE was at number two, valued at 6.8 billion, with their 2023 revenue being 1.3 billion. And AEW was at number three, valued at 2 billion, with their revenue in 2023 valuing at 250 million. And it says in the article, it also highlights top draws: the Young Bucks, Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega. So yeah, given and
AEW top draws for UFC, have you got that information for me?
The top draws for UFC according to Forbes, so take this with a grain of salt. Let us see. I'm just gonna scroll up right now. The top draws to UFC are Dana White, John Jones, and Sean O'Malley.
Dana White is top draw, right?
Oh, sorry. John Jones. Israel Adesanya, and Sean O'Malley, because Dana White's name was right next to the top.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah, Israel Adesanya, John Jones, and Sean O'Malley.
Not Conor.
And another thing to note is that AEW is the youngest company in this entire list. So it just puts into perspective the growth of the company, because it's literally the third highest drawing promotion, revenue making promotion on this, which is over entities like Matchroom Boxing, over entities like One Championship fighting.
I saw One Championship in there, and I remember whatever the number is ridiculous. I think that, obviously it's an article.
Yeah.
I don't think AEW is worth $2 billion. And the reason I say that is because of the valuation that WWE has, according to Forbes, it's $6 billion, and
it's 6.8 billion. Yeah.
So but then also I saw the valuation for one fighting championship, and it was like $1 billion or something.
One championship was 1.3 billion.
Yeah. That's
inflated. You think?
Do I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like AEW. That number's been floating around for a while, and I remember reading it at the time, like months ago, and I remember thinking they're not worth $2 billion. You could, $1 billion, if you look at the revenue that they have and the TV contract, the old TV contract, and the stars that they've got on the contract and the outlets that they have and stuff, you could $1 billion, but $2 billion, but $2 billion is, I think, is a bit of a reach. But also the fact that they've got one listed that much, I think that is absolutely fucking one fighting championship is always a thing to me where I just don't understand, because I always hear that they're getting new investments and stuff, and I'm like, what are you invested in? Like, what is, like, do you ever know, and have you ever watched a one fighting championship show?
I've watched a few fights. They've had they've got some good, like, some really like well recognized fighters, but not fighters that are like draws.
They do, but have you watched a one fighting championship show? Do you know anyone who actually peaks for these shows and gears up for these shows and orders these shows?
No, not really.
Who orders the shows?
No.
Where are these shows? Who's buying these shows?
No.
Even when I do watch some shows, the arenas aren't full. You know, the arenas aren't full. So it's an article.
The numbers are dubious at best.
The top draws they listed, they literally just listed guys that work for the company.
Yeah, it was just like EVP, because even they listed John Jones for UFC, and I'm like, John Jones hasn't fought in like a while. So it's like,
yeah, the Bucks on Bucks. You know, MJF is the top draw.
Yeah, in 2022 for sure. But yeah, guys, I think we've spoken. I think we've bored you enough with the statistics. Let's get to why we are here. AEW Revolution. We're gonna kick off with the main card. I guess the most noteworthy thing that happened on the pre-show is that the Gun Club, the Bullet Club Gold are now unified the trios titles. So now they're the ROH and AEW trios champions.
I watched that. I watched that live actually. I had it on. I watched that match, and I just don't understand. I mean, I get. Well, for one, when I was watching it, I saw people were angry at Matt Caster, and I was really confused. Why were they angry at? Why were people angry at Matt Caster yesterday? What was the story? What did he say that was outlandish?
I'm not sure. I did not get to watch the pre-show, so I didn't actually see what happened.
Okay, fine. Because he did a rap, and it was usual stuff. And then I went onto Twitter and I saw people. Even Dave was like, "Oh, he's going to get in trouble." I rewinded it. And I was like, "What did he say that was so bad?" I think people just have a thing for Max Caster nowadays, where I don't know, they just don't like him. I also saw that he stopped.
Apparently, he made a joke about sexual.
Was that the thing about the? Okay, I don't think that was. I think that was a reach. I think that was a reach. I don't know. I know the line. It's cleared by other people that at this point. So I don't know. I heard that and I was like, oh, please, if it's that, I think that's a bit of a reach. I will say this though. I noticed that he cut Bowens off a couple times. Bowens tried to grab the mic, and he pulled the mic away from Bowens. So that's interesting. So it looks like. I'm not saying that. I mean, they didn't hit anyone over the head with it. It's not, like Michael Cole sees shit and he just continuously talks about it, and the way they shoot it in WWE, it's like they want you to notice it. With AEW, it's really subtle, which I like, but I can see that happening at some point. I don't want to talk too much about this, but I will say this: I saw that match yesterday, and I saw Billy Gunn kicked out of his kid's finish, and stuff like that really bothers me. Really bothers me, because I don't understand in 2024. I don't understand the Billy Gunn thing, and I get that he looks, like he did years ago, but there's a myth, and I've noticed it amongst wrestlers. Billy Gunn was never good. He was never a fucking good wrestler. I don't know what is going on here. Like, seriously, what Billy Gunn match was so great that people seem to think that he deserves to be on television. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Maybe he's not. I don't know. But people like him, and I get that. But him being on television nowadays, especially that match he did with Jay White a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was ludicrous.
Yeah, it really bothers me, the fact that he'd be on television having long matches and competitive and kicking out finishes too. He was never good. He was the guy in the group who did the catchphrase, and that's fine. He had a shitty tag team. Shitty tag team. I don't care what anyone says. People got this thing about WWE tag teams where it's like, they won the belts. It's fake. I don't care how much times the Dudley Boys won tag titles or the Outlaws won tag titles. Fucking Outlaws sucked. Didn't have good matches. The best match they ever had was against Terry Funk and Mick Foley in a dumpster match, and Terry Funk could have a good match with me. So I don't know what that fucking tells you. Even at that age, you could have a good match with me. He was never that good, and I just don't get it. I'm fine with him being there, and I'm fine with him being in the corner. And if he wants to do trios matches, yeah, great, go in there, do the job. Why are you kicking out of finishes, bro? Why are you? And another thing, why did they have those belts for so long? I don't get it. I really don't get it.
No, not at all.
They had them belts for time, and then man did nothing with them belts. And I'm watching trios matches on the show. They're good. Never involves them.
It'll be like the Elite versus somebody, or even the trios match that we got on this pay-per-view that was pretty good.
That's a good match. Real good match.
Yeah, so we'll get to that, but just be like, it won't involve the actual champions. And it's like,
we had 2 trios matches last week involving the Bucks and Okada and other assorted characters and stuff. And, why are the belts on the Acclaimed? Why?
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. Well, they're off the Acclaimed. They're now on Bullet Club Gold. We'll see where this run goes. I don't really have a lot of thoughts on this. I guess it's some gold, but do I care about the trios division? No, not any. No, I haven't.
You should.
I should. It should be good. It should be a good division, but yeah, since House of Black lost them, I was like, eh. And House of Black's reign was hit and miss, anyways. But
I wasn't keen on that. As soon as that best of 7 series finished with the Elite and the Left Triangle, I was a bit like, don't get me wrong, the matches were always good that the Elite had, and even House of Black, they had good matches too, but nothing was going on. Like, nothing was like, no story. Like, there was nothing crazy going around the belt that had me looking forward to anything at all.
Yeah. Let's see what some of the comments says. Billy got off well because Road Dogg was worse.
Well, I don't know. He said he was better than Bret Hart a few months ago. So
yeah. But yeah, let us get into
hold on. Could you imagine listening to a guy on his podcast and he says that he's better than Bret Hart? Could you imagine? That's what, and I'm not talking about Chris, someone really good, but could you Road Dogg saying he's better than Bret Hart on his podcast? He said that on his podcast. He said that, he said he was better than Bret. He said, well, Bret was a better wrestler than me, but as an overall package, I was better than Bret.
It's the weird metric that people use. I'm the better sports entertainer. I'm the better. Just like it's a metric I've never really gravitated to, but it's like whatever floats your boat.
You were never good at Bret Hart. You had a better catchphrase than Bret Hart, as in, your entrance was better than Bret Hart's, I suppose. Shit like that irritates me. That's when you're listening to a podcast and someone says that, and it's like, you know what? I don't want to listen to this bullshit no more. I got a child and 3 dogs that I need to raise, and I can't be listening to this bullshit. Like,
big up Elijah. Elijah says, I don't understand why they can't book compelling feuds for the trios titles in a company with so many factions.
Yes.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
I would like to say that things will change now, but they probably won't. So
they won't. I've like with AEW, like I still like very much adore the company, and this pay-per-view is a reason why I love the company. But I know what battles to fight and not to fight, and the trios division is not about I'm willing to fight for, or because there's just no evidence. Like, there's no evidence. So
do you know what, NK? I'm at a stage now where I'm like, you know what? I don't even need crazy crazy stories around these titles. I don't need elaborate shit. All I need is just crazy matches every week. Just put the champions on television every week against 3 guys, put them in there against whoever, and just let everyone work once a week. Could be Wednesday, could be Saturday. Just give us some great matches every week, and I'm fine with that. We didn't even get that with the last champions.
No, we didn't. But let me see if we got any more comments. Let's get to actual real graps. Let's get to the opening match of the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view opened with an absolute banger of a match. It was Kazuchika Okada versus Pac for the AEW Continental Championship. This match right here, man.
I didn't like it. I thought it sucked.
Huh?
Nah, I'm just bullshitting. Sorry. I was being contrarian. Sorry. Anyway, as you were.
I was like, wait, what the fuck? Because usually with a pay-per-view, I usually know Knowledge's thoughts before this, but since Knowledge watched the pay-per-view pretty late, I have no idea. Yeah, he's a busy man, fam. Life is lifing. So I have no idea of his opinion. So when he said that, I was like, but nah, I thought this was Okada's best match in AEW. So far, obviously, yeah. So far, even in fact, yeah. I think this is the format where Okada shines the most. Pay-per-view format. When it comes to television matches, obviously you're not gonna get the best of Okada on TV. Just the way he structures his matches, he's very deliberate with his pace. His matches very much justify the length. When people will see Okada matches, why are they 40 minutes? There's a reason. He pads his matches in a way to really get in as much content as possible, and we can see it. I think Okada's going to be one of those wrestlers where obviously you have good TV matches, and he's been having good trios matches with the Bucks, but pay-per-view, man, that's where he shines. And this match was incredible. And even Pac, man, I know we don't see him often, But Pac, man, come back to TV, like wrestle, like just come for pay-per-views. I don't need to see your weekly, huh?
What a fantastic wrestler.
He's an absolute, like, the bumps he was taking. I remember, like, the way he sold for that DDT outside and the shotgun drop kick to the corner.
Yeah.
Like,
his legs went limp. Do you see that? It's like
his
legs were limp in the corner.
Yeah,
he's that guy just doesn't have bad matches. Like,
no.
When was the last time we saw a bad Pac match? Even an average Pac match, he doesn't do them. He's just such a good wrestler. Like, I thought that match was good, man.
I honestly think if Pac wrestled more often and was like a consistent fixture on television, like, people would put more respect on his name. I feel like people acknowledge that Pac is good, but sometimes you forget how good he is. Like, he's really a premier wrestler, and he's just not around that often, which is a shame. But we had him in this match, and he was incredible, man.
I tell you what, I was watching that match, and he is at that level where he does things. He makes everything look easy. It's like if someone who didn't know about wrestling, they sat there and watched that, I think he makes things just look like anyone could get up and do it, because he makes everything just look so simple.
Seamless.
But everything he does, whatever moves he does, the way he sells, the way he bumps, he was just so good yesterday. And I'm watching the match, and Okada, I mean, because he mostly does the trios matches on TV, and which is fine, because he's done those fucking most nights for a decade, hasn't he, over in Japan? And does 6-man tags and 8-man tags and 10-man tags every night. So it's like he knows exactly where he needs to be in those matches. But you watch that guy, and for a guy who never worked US television, and you hear these goofs talking about, oh, he needs to be in NXT to learn this and learn that. It's like, fuck that guy. It's not. It just shows you it's not fucking hard to go and learn to look at the fucking hard camera, or to work out your entrance and all that shit. So when they say, oh, guy's been in NXT for a year because he's learned how to find the hard camera, it's bullshit. He was so good in that match yesterday. And also, he's a really good heel. I mean, he's always a good heel anyway, but
phenomenal.
He was just so good. Even the way he did moves, and the way he looked at the camera afterwards, and his face is just fantastic. Like, when he flipped the audience off, when he teased them with the Rainmaker spot, like, that was hilarious. That's just great. And also, Pac, one more thing on Pac. You spoke about that bump. He done 2 DDTs in that match. He took 2 DDTs where he landed on his head. Is that guy the best when it comes to taking a DDT?
Yeah, like, I remember there was a DDT he took against Orange Cassidy. And it looked like every DDT looks like he's been spiked straight on his head.
Yeah.
And that's how a DDT should look like. Like, every time he takes a DDT, I'm like, oof, that was nasty.
His body contorts. It's like,
this
twist. Van Damme used to do them where he'd take a DDT and he'd bounce. It's like he gets spiked and he'd jump. It's like his head would just land on the floor and his body would just jump in the air. It was weird. I don't know how he done that. And then the way Pac takes a DDT and his body just twists, it's really impressive. Like, I really enjoyed that match. I watched the match and I knew it was going to be good. Obviously, what was good about it? They could do another one.
Yeah, for sure.
They could do another one. They could easily do another match on TV if they want to do one at Double or Nothing. I'm fine with that, because they left so much. There's so much more they could have done with that. Even the finish, the finish just happened. Like, there was no. I mean, he got out of the Rainmaker a few times at the end, but there's way more they could have done, like, in terms of sequences.
Because in an Okada match, I'm usually expecting the counter to the Rainmaker, like the false finish. But you know what? I'm thinking that stuff will come over time, but also, like you said, they save stuff. And I even said in our group chat that the day Okada wins the AEW World Championship, and we get those like 40-minute main events, it's gonna be something. Like, the day that happens, and I think putting him with this title is gonna do so much for this title. Like already, I'm already invested in this title way more than I was before, and I like Eddie Kingston. I'm one of the few people online that actually, that like Eddie Kingston. But just and Eddie Kingston's a quality wrestler, but just like the levels, like now I'm thinking, okay, you can get so many different guys in there with Okada on a pay-per-view and just have banger match after banger match after banger match. Like and with the roster they've got, you could easily feed guys to Okada to beat for like a year.
Bro, that roster, I mean, you've got your clear pay-per-view matches that you can book him on. But then even on TV, bro, like obviously if you wanted to main event, you can put him in there with someone who's like a star. But if you just want to put him in there on an advertised match on Collision or whatever, bro, you can put him in there with Orange Cassidy. Or you can put him in there with Penta or
Phoenix.
These matches that have never happened before. Those are quality matches that we've never seen before. We never saw him wrestle Pac, and I didn't even thought of that match.
And then it's so funny because I remember when Okada first signed, it was like, but he's already been AEW. What dream matches are there? And it's like, Exhibit A. Exhibit A.
I mean, it's matches you ain't even think of. Like, think about this. You ain't even thought about Okada versus like Dax Harwood in a singles match. That'd be a quality match. That'd be quality. Or like he could run back so many of the matches he's done anyway. But I mean, like even him against Swerve, we ain't even seen that one yet. Like that program. Him against Moxley, they haven't done that one.
Him against, obviously in Japan that they interacted, but him against like this new Hangman would be phenomenal.
Oh man, yeah.
And him versus the MJF, like
Okada and MJF, Okada and Roderick Strong on TV. I think I've already seen that match, but like
Ring of Honor, but
do it again. Him against Cole, do it again. Like fuck it, these are big matches that we can get nowadays or whatever, and like there's just the list is endless. It's like if he went WWE, I think I mean if I was going to watch Okada, I'd be curious to see him wrestle like Roman Reigns just to see how they work the match. I wouldn't expect. I think it'd be a good match, but I wouldn't really expect much from it. But I mean, like, I'd be curious to see how they work that match. I think I've seen him wrestle. I've definitely seen him wrestle Cody, so the intrigue wouldn't be there for me. But I think Walter. I'd probably have liked to have seen him wrestle Walter.
There's a few guys in WWE. There's a few like guys in WWE, like a Chad, like just in terms of workers, Chad Gable. You know what? An Okada Logan Paul match would be very interesting if they like let them do what they need to do. Like it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I like Logan Paul. Yeah, that'd be fun. But great match. What did you go? What would you think? I went 4.5.
I went about. I'm thinking 4 because I'm trying to be conservative, but like a solid 4 to 4. I'll say 4.
Okay, I liked it more than you.
Yeah, slightly, but I thought like there was definitely room for more, but like still a great match. Let's address some of the comments. Big up everyone in the comment section. Let me run through this. Big up Elijah. I respect the way AEW have treated Pac since day one. They know who's that guy. Yeah, Pac even debuted in AEW beating Kenny Omega. So like
he doesn't lose a lot of matches, Pac either. If you look at his people, you think, because he's never really won. Well, he's won a few titles, but he doesn't main event shows and all that. But if you look at the amount of jobs he's done in AEW since day one, he doesn't do a lot of jobs. Tony obviously respects him a lot, and when he does do jobs, he's not losing to Jabrones, he's losing to Okada.
Yeah, and then obviously even the fact that like Pac's been in and out of like he hasn't been a consistent fixture in AEW, but Tony Khan still keeps him around, shows that that he's a valued, like he values him and like big up Ben Moxley.
If you need him at any point, just bring him back. Like bring him in. If you need him at any point, he's like that. That axe behind the glass or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just get him out.
Yeah. Big up Lincoln. Pac is genuinely one of the best wrestlers in the world, but we just don't see him often enough. Best products of Newcastle since Alan Shearer. Good football. Big up Glody.
I got an awesome dog from Newcastle years ago, Lincoln. Fucking his dad was a Crufts champion. Best in breeding. Like, so I got something better from Newcastle than Alan Shearer. I just want to put that out there.
Pac would be AEW champion if he wrestled full time.
I won't go that far, but I don't think he'd be AEW champion. I think there's a
because there's only been like 8 of them in 5 years.
Yeah, there hasn't been many, and I don't think Pac would be AEW champion. But if Pac was around, if Pac lived in America and he was, he was open to more dates, he'd easily be a main event guy, a regular main event guy.
Yeah,
they'd probably make him a heel, put him with Don Callis or someone who can talk for him, or even though Pac is actually a good interview, but they'd probably put him with someone else anyway. But
yeah, I'd probably say he'd be like not to the same level we'll get to him, but like he'll be doing like Danielson stuff where he'd just be having like weekly bangers on TV, just like in that role, just to like a content factory just of matches, and like people would love him for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily think he'll be champion, but like he'd probably be multiple time TNT or whatever champion, but like he'd be there, but like he'd definitely be a more prominent fixture for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
Let's see. Navy, Pac, and Prime Rob Van Dam are up there. C Face says AEW. Pac freezes after a DDT. Ibushi also does that as well. When is Ibushi coming back? Hasn't Ibushi just undergone surgery?
I saw Ibushi a couple of weeks on his Twitter, and he was in the ring. He looked fine. He looked fine. So he had surgery already. I hope that I know he's had the surgery, so I hope that he comes back and he is good. I'll be happy if he's just at a good level. He doesn't have to be Kota Ibushi from 5 years ago, but if he can still work and have good matches, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah,
because I don't know what position Kenny's going to be in when he comes back. We don't know.
Yeah,
Kenny's been held together with duct tape for the last few years anyway. Yeah. So maybe a Golden Lovers team with those two at 75% or 60%. Maybe that's the best thing for both of them. I don't know.
Yeah, like definitely out of like, I'd say if Kenny comes back, like singles matches will be very sparing. Yeah, I think
definitely.
Which they should.
And it's a shame because there's still loads of singles matches that he could have. Yeah,
But it's the thing though, that style does kind of, as much as we love it, as much as we like applaud it, it takes a toll. And that's why, like, I don't begrudge guys going to WWE on the latter half of their career because it's like just to preserve their bodies. And it's like, even though the road does take a toll on you, that style is a lot.
Well, that used to be the thing in the 70s and the 80s. The guys would go to WWE and that would be their last run. It was always like, oh, I'm gonna, do what I need to do, and then once I'm finished and physically done, I'll go to WWE, because WWE was never the work rate place. The fans never expected. Even then, they never expected, great work or whatever. That was always the thing. I'll just ride my body until it's completely done, and then I'll go WWE and just get my last bit of money I can. Yeah. Brody was going to do that. That was Brody's plan before he died. His whole plan was going to work these matches, go around the horn, and then I'll take the big boot and get pinned by Hogan. That'll be it for me. That was his thing, but he didn't make it.
Yep. All right, guys, I'll skim through some of these comments. I said after this match, this was done in a way where they left me on the bone. I agree.
They did. That was.
People are gonna find out what pro wrestling can actually be. Absolutely.
No, I disagree. I really disagree. It doesn't matter, mate. Navy is right. Pro wrestling can be a lot. Look at the storytelling we got in that match. I just want to put that out there. Think of that match, and look at what Okada had done in that match. Like, pro wrestling can be a lot of different things, and I mean, pro wrestling has been around since in its current incarnation since the early 1900s. But I mean, people don't care, mate. No, they don't give a shit.
You could bring a camel to water. You can't force it to drink, man.
That's right. That's right.
But Okada versus Phoenix would bang. You'll get Okada versus Edge and love it. I'd be very curious about that match.
No, I'm here for that match. I thought Edge looked really good yesterday. Yeah, I thought he was real good in that match.
All right, let's just see. All right, guys. I know there's a lot of comments, but for the sake of just for the sake of the show, so we're not here for hours. I'm gonna move on, but I appreciate you guys commenting, keep liking, keep sharing. But we're gonna move on to the next match. The next match was the aforementioned trios match. It was the House of Black versus Eddie Kingston, Adam Copeland, and Mark Briscoe. I thought this was a solid match. It was a really fun match. Yeah, like nothing too crazy, but like,
yeah, I've got nothing to say. I mean, I was actually surprised that House of Black went over. It does make sense because Malachi pinned Edge, and they can go on and have a singles match now, which I'm fine with. I've noticed that Malachi Black has been doing a lot more in the ring over the last few months. Because before he'd go in and he'd do his bits, he'd do his spots, his key spots, and then he'd get out, and then the other two would do the work. But recently, I've noticed he's taken a lot more bumps. So I guess that means he's feeding a lot better, and stuff. So which is good. I don't know what his story is. I don't know what's going on with him. But if he's willing to work and he's got his working shoes on and he's up for it, well, then I'm fine with that. But yeah, it was a good match. That was a real good match. I thought Brody King looked really good as well.
Yeah, I think Brody's like probably like out of the groups probably emerging as like my favorite, and probably that makes sense because I think he's the one who's more consistently pushed as like a singles guy. Like we see him a lot more. But yeah, Brody King's like someone I'm really keen on, and Mark Briscoe, man, I love me some Mark Briscoe, man. Like just every time I see Mark on just like national TV, it makes me happy because just like obviously he's on national TV due to like unforeseen circumstances, but just for him to even get here, because I know there was like a lot of pushback getting the Briscoe brothers on television, and obviously like we can very much assume that it was due to the passing of Jay that things kind of loosened up. But the fact that he's here nonetheless on TV, you know, like I've mentioned before, I'm just happy seeing like the stars, the indie darlings of the 2000s really get their flowers and really get like the money they deserve for like pioneering a whole culture, a whole movement of wrestling. Now these guys are now like, you know, on the latter end of the career, making good money, comfortable money, as they should, for the contributions they've made to pro wrestling. So yeah,
he could be a lot more as well in that company. He's such a good babyface. He's so likable.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying he should be a world champion, but as a babyface, a sympathetic babyface who just everyone really likes Mark Briscoe. They could they could do a lot more with him. Like he could be that guy who could do that sentimental run every year or whatever and get a good world title program out of him. You know, him against whoever the heel world champion is for a month or so. You could get a lot out of Mark Briscoe. He just loses too much on TV. I've always felt that they abuse him too much on that show.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, solid match. We'll move on. We'll move on. We had Willow Nightingale defeat Willow Nightingale versus Julia Hart. Willow Nightingale is now the new TBS champion. Now
they're turning heel, aren't they? Because I watched that. I saw it and I was like, they've got to be turning a heel because
obviously after the match, Mercedes like interfered. I mean, had interrupted Willow's moment. Very heelish.
The commentators mentioned that she was stealing her moment too. So I listened to that and I was like, they've got to be turning her heel.
Yeah. Before the match, obviously there was a lot of like rumors and discussions about Julia Hart being hurt. So I'm not surprised the match didn't go too long. Like there weren't any crazy spots or anything. I won't lie and say like this match was anything special. It wasn't. But given the fact that Julia Hart was hurt, that makes sense. But Willow finally getting her moment, because Willow is somebody I've been campaigning for a long time. In fact, I wanted Willow to be the one to kind of get the rub when Jade Cargill went out. I wanted Willow to be that person. They chose Statlander, which I'm not going to complain, but I wanted that for Willow. And Willow's like we spoke about Mark Briscoe being like a really likable babyface. Willow's like one of those people where she's just like exudes like, you know, like a really like likable energy. And yeah, Willow's like, I'm happy for Willow. I want to see, obviously they've got her positioned with Mercedes. Don't know how long she's keeping the title for. Because they've already announced the double.
She will lose it next month.
Yeah, she will lose it next month. So yeah.
And I'm fine with Mercedes winning the title. I think she should really be in the world title picture. I think that Tony Storm is holding that title hostage, and I think Mercedes should be the women's champion, really. And I'm saying this as someone who's not keen on the whole Mercedes thing, but really, that's where she should be.
Yeah,
and I know the way they think over there. They probably think they're saving it and stuff like that.
Yeah, apparently, so the common thought is that they've got really big plans for Mariah May, and that's the person who's going to dethrone Tony, which
And I get that, but they don't need the title for that.
No,
they don't need the title for that. I will say this about Mercedes because I watched the show, and for the last few weeks of AEW, I've been flicking through the shows. I haven't really watched them too tough, but I will say this: it's crazy watching. Like there was a couple of weeks ago where Will Ospreay cut this promo with Renee, and he did this awesome promo, and it was so real. And Will has got this. He's just such a natural, it's just such a natural anyway. Great baby face and a real promo. And then the next thing we saw was Mercedes Moné backstage, and she did the sit down promo, and it's like the two contrasting things of the real promo versus the WWE scripted style promo. It's just not for me, and it looks out of place on this show. And then last week Moxley did the promo at the beginning of the show where he's cutting this promo and he's being real and it's all authentic, and then you go backstage to her doing that bullshit, and it's just they cut backstage to her during that match. I saw it, and she's looking at the TV, and she's facing us looking at the TV. She comes out every week and she does the same. She does the entrance, and it's beat for beat the same every week, like they do at the PC. She comes out, you know exactly where she's gonna, stop and do a pose, and you know exactly where she's gonna dance. And she comes up and she does the same thing towards the hard camera. It's the same beat for beat every week, just like in WWE. And I watched that, and I just think it's bullshit.
MAA says she's so scripted.
It's terrible, and it just shows you, it just doesn't belong on this show. And I'm saying this because she's got her own writer, and every time I blame everything on that writer these days. Every time I see something on that show, it's that fucking cunt writer. That's what it is. But she's got her own writer, and fine, you're a star and all that stuff. But someone needs to have a word with this woman. Let's be like, yo, you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to speak. She needs to sit down with Jericho or Mox or any of these guys that were there, and they had to reteach themselves. They had to get rid of that, script and remember how to cut an old promo again. She needs to sit down with him and speak to Jake. Jake's sitting back there not doing anything. You speak to him and speak to whoever. Jim Ross is good. Speak to Jim Ross, him about this, giving it a shot, and not this. Forget the script 1 week. You can be a 45-second promo backstage and just give it a shot and get out of your comfort zone, because this shit here, this doesn't work at all for me, at all.
Yeah,
I ain't seen someone come into a promotion being that expensive, and someone coming in that hot and be called off so quickly, just so quickly. Maybe Paul White years ago when he showed up in WWE, he got called down pretty. It's like maybe 2 weeks, but she's been called off real quick. It's crazy.
Yeah. But we move on to the next match. So the next match on the card, I really enjoyed this match. Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly for the International Championship. This match was great. This match was absolutely great. And Kyle O'Reilly, before he got injured, he was building up like a bit of reputation in terms of just like having consistent great pay-per-view matches. I know he had a great match with Darby Allin. I think that was for what was that for? That was for the Owen. And then I remember a few other matches Kyle O'Reilly was having. Kyle O'Reilly's always been an amazing wrestler, and it's great to see him back. This is kind of what the international title needed, because ever since Roderick won that title, it's kind of been a bit stale. And I think the whole Undisputed Kingdom act is blech. But Roderick with this title, I'm liking it, and I want to see more defenses. And yeah, I want to see Kyle O'Reilly in the mix more. I don't know where it goes from here. Obviously, at the end of the match, they teased very heavily, like how you spoke about, them.
Oh God, what
this WWE like beating it over your head like this. Like this was like very like over your head, over the top. Like Adam,
WWE Michael Cole stuff there. Like, tell me, is that right? I tell you, I blame everything on her. Janet Pepperman is her name. I blame everything on her. It was like comes out. I've got that camera. behind Wardlow's facing the hard camera and Cole standing behind him, and it's like, and then they were left in the ring together as well. The way they shot it,
yeah,
Cole stood up as well, which was great. Although I saw him walking around Kenny Omega's house when Kenny Omega was on Twitch live streaming a few weeks ago. So I mean, I know he could walk, and I saw pictures of him backstage at Revolution, and he didn't have his walking boot on, so he's been walking for a while, I guess. But it's good that he's walking, and it's good that he's doing it on television. I've always liked the idea of the guy in the wheelchair who can walk, but he just surprises us one day by getting out of the wheelchair. And I always like the idea of MJF coming back and going crazy, in his big comeback, and then out of nowhere, Adam Cole gets up and out of the wheelchair and just runs off through the audience. I like stuff like that. But that means MJF will be back soon too.
Yeah, which will be good. I think that feud which will be good, because as much as like we decried and we rightfully so criticized MJF title reign, MJF is still very talented and he's still very young, So
I see too much people shitting on MJF. Wrestling fans have always had this "what have you done for me lately" mentality, and it really irritates me because MJF was a great talent. He was a great wrestler, cut great promos. He shit the bed for a few months as world champion, but that doesn't mean he's a piece of shit. People say, I don't know where he fits in this company. It's like, you're a cunt chap. You know what you're talking about. Great.
Big up Navy. Navy says, how many times did they want to do Batista Triple H angle? They've done it so many times now. Yeah.
That angle has been around since the beginning of fucking time, and they'll keep doing it as long as they do it well. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. MAA says I think those fans will be very shocked once MJF returns, for sure. Or
the ones that go, he should just go to WWE. It's like, if that man showed up on WWE, those people would be fucking crying, chatting shit. Wrestling fans are so stupid.
Do you know what? There's been a prevailing thing. I'll mention it now. There's been a prevailing thing. Anytime a wrestler's having a somewhat tumultuous period, hey, that you cooking WWE, and it's like, huh? Relax. Like, some people I believe deserve to go, and if you want to hear names now, I'll say it. Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, Miro. Well, most of them guys.
I don't know about Miro these days. I don't think that'll work for him these days. I don't know. I think he might want to stay put now.
But those guys could go, and I agree with you. But it's like, it's not everybody under the sun. Like, I was even seeing like dumb Twitter posts last week about, hey, now that AEW have embarrassed Jack Perry on television, he should go to WWE. And I was like, my goodness, Look, that was a very small minority of people. Like, I want to preface that, very, very small minority of people. But I was thinking,
what, to be backstage with CM Punk? Yeah, great. Yeah,
they can hash it out because WWE is a professional environment, and they make them hash it out.
Yeah. That reminds me that sexual sex trafficking lawsuit that they got against them. We should do an update on that at some point.
Sure, let's do it next week.
Yeah, we should do that next week. I fancy talking about. I was going to say, you mentioned these people that really should leave. That's the problem with wrestling nowadays, is that people sign these long-term contracts, and when they get cold, there's nowhere for them to go, really. Like back in the day, in the territory days, if a guy was cold, the promoter would just be like, all right, we're going to finish you up here in a month. You can go to another territory. I've called Jerry Jarrett. He's going to need you over there. So you go over there for a few months, work on something, then you can come back. Nowadays, guys are just here for years. It's like the Acclaimed are an example of an act that I think would benefit from leaving for a year. So, and come back. Even if they went to Japan for a bit and did dates in Japan for a few months, that'd be great. But wouldn't it be great if they could go to WWE for a year or something like that? Just disappear and then, work on something and come back.
Yeah. It'd be great. On to the next match. Yeah. Well, on to the next match. This is my least favorite match on the card. Chris Jericho versus Hook for the FTW Championship. Oh my god, this hamana. I don't like to join on the Jericho dogpiling, but I'm sick of him. and I know it's for multiple reasons, but I'm sick of him.
I like Jericho.
I'm sick of him. I'm just. I don't want him to leave. I don't think I'm not gonna be one of these guys on Twitter say he was never good anyways. I'm not gonna do that.
Oh, I've seen that too.
I've seen that so many times. I've seen that he was never good anyway. He's no. Even in his AEW and Jericho's had some great moments. Right now, I'm just tired, and I don't know if it's a thing of just like him taking a break for like a 6 months to a year or whatever. But even Hook, man, I've been said I'm tired of the FTW Championship. I thought my whole thing was I wanted Hook to win it, then retire it. Just win and retire. Just graduate from it. This match wasn't particularly good. It was a lot of plunder, but it wasn't like well done plunder. Like we'll get to well done plunder match later on in the card, but like it was just like stuff was happening. I was very tuned out. Like I was half paying attention, and it was like, I'm tired. And another guy, I'm seeing a lot of people say should go to WWE is Hook, which I don't feel too strongly about that one either way. But yeah, I thought this match was just there. It's like the match needed to be there on the pay-per-view because obviously it's like Jericho's still a big star. You want Jericho on your pay-per-view and Hook someone they're trying to build. But it's like I will forget about this match in a day. In about a week, I'll forget this match ever happened and just move on.
He should have won though. Jericho should have won. Yeah. He had to go over. That was the right decision. I think he does need to disappear for a bit, but I think the Jericho. I think people's attitudes on Chris Jericho, I think, are unwarranted a lot of the time. I think a lot of it, yeah, he's a bit tired and he does need to leave for a bit, and I get that. But the whole thing of him, he buries people's careers, and I don't see any evidence of that whatsoever. I've never seen any evidence of that. I can offer rebuttals for everything that you can ever say to me on stuff like that. I'm not saying that I think he's the MVP of the company pretty much over the first few years of the company. I definitely think he's definitely the most important person over 2019, 2020 going into 21. I definitely think he was the MVP of the company in terms of I thought he was excellent. And I still think he's good now. I think people need to understand. I see people saying he's bad, and he is not bad. Jericho is still pretty good, especially for his age. You realize how old he is. It's like
you spoke about Billy Gunn never being good. That's not Jericho's nowhere near.
Jericho now is better than Billy Gunn when he was in his 20s, when he was in his prime. Jericho now is better than Billy Gunn then. Like Jericho is still a pretty good wrestler. I still think he's got great value to the company. I think he loses too much, and I think that he puts himself in positions where, because I think he wants to do the whole thing of I want to work with Hook and I want to work with younger guys, and it's like you don't need to do that. You're a star, you're a legend. Really, you shouldn't be on TV near as much as you are anyway. You should really just go away, come back every few months for a feud, and then fuck off again. That's really what your role should be at this. You don't need to be on TV wrestling Hook every week. Jericho's Chris Jericho. If he would have remained special, no one would complain about him coming back and having a main event program against some whatever he is, a heel or a babyface, and then putting them over at the end and disappearing again and coming back. No one would say anything, but people have got a lot of thoughts about Chris Jericho. Like I said, I don't really know if some of them are warranted.
Yeah, Navy said Hook should have a little New Japan one. I'd send everyone to Japan. I'd send so many. If I was like, obviously there's like I'm not booking AEW like it's a fucking SmackDown versus Raw. I know you can't send every single wrestler you have to Japan, but there would be a few wrestlers I'd phase in and out of the product and send to Japan. Hook is definitely one of them. I feel like you've said this before. I just feel like a lot of people need way more reps, and TV doesn't provide you that amount. That TV time is finite. You need constant reps. You need that invaluable experience of being on the road, wrestling 6 to 7 shows a week. That muscle memory builds up, and that's why you're kind of
and working long matches.
Yeah.
Working long matches against guys who are better than you. Like in an ideal world, Hook would be working in Peoria, Illinois, and then he'd be working in Mobile, Alabama with Roderick Strong for 12 minutes every night, or wrestling Ethan Page for 10 minutes, or these Jay Lethal, wrestling Jay Lethal for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. Fuck it. Have him go 20-minute Broadway with Jay Lethal one night in wherever, in Long Island, New York, or whatever, in front of 2,000 people. Who cares? That's what you should be. It's like Jay Cargill. I saw Jay Cargill's been on these house shows, and she's working. She's doing like she's going in there. She's not taking any bumps, and she's just doing like key spots, and she's winning matches. She's never going to get better at this rate. Like if anything, she's got worse since she's got there. They're not helping her either. She needs to be in there working Natty Nineheart, or whoever.
But I was told she was better. I was told that Danielson failed.
They lied to you. They lied to you.
Yeah,
I watched her at WrestleMania. They don't trust her at all. They don't trust her at all. They've got her in, and they've tried to reprogram her because they think that everything they do at that training center is right. So they've got her in there with fucking Matt Bloom and all these guys trying to get her to forget everything that she learned before because it's no good. And when she didn't have it down in the first place, you could basically telling her everything that she's known before is bad. You need to do it this way. And then she struggled. And it's not even a knock on her. If anything, I feel bad for her because, she came in and she was never she wasn't that, but she was bad, but she wasn't the worst. And now I watch her and I'm like,
very passable matches. Like
she had a few matches where she looked all right.
Yeah, like she had a pretty. Like, obviously, she was in there with like better women, but like she looked good. She looks like had a decent showing against Athena. She had like a really decent match on Rampage. I remember against what was her name? Anna Jay of all people. I remember that first Anna Jay match. She had a Rampage. I was like, that was a pretty solid match. Against Ruby Soho, that was pretty decent. A Tay Conti match was pretty decent. So
the one with Ty was good. I remember that match. Yeah, that was a good match.
Like Jade's had like decent matches here and there. So it's like,
I watched that trios match they did at WrestleMania, and she was she made Naomi look like freaking Manami Toyota or somebody, like freaking. Just I feel bad for her, but that's someone who should be out there working long matches as well. But Hook is another one where it's like I'm just not keen on the whole thing. At first, they had him being quiet, and he was going in there and he was suplexing people, and he was beating people, winning matches quick. Great. As soon as they put the mic in front of his face, and he's got that stupid look in his face, and he cuts these. He's just terrible, and it's like his dad's there, and I know his dad doesn't want to do it, and I get that, but his dad really needs to be his manager and do the talking for him, and just let that guy just do the work as well. And it's like he's not his dad, and it's a shame because his dad was great, and his dad in ECW had a fucking fantastic run where he was just absolutely so believable, and he's got his kid who isn't believable, and it's a shame. But he should go WWE, try something new. I don't know.
Big man dogs, there should always be at least one person in AEW New Japan getting reps. Absolutely.
Someone young who hasn't got kids and a wife. Send them over there.
Honestly, I would send like, for example, like a team like Private Party, maybe even wanted, just to compete in like, just to compete in like the junior division, like, bruv, like the best of the juniors division has the same faces every time. I'm sure they'd love to take on board some of these guys. Navy, I will address your comment when we get to that section of the match because that comment is important. But we'll move on. We'll storm through some of these matches. We're towards the end of the pay-per-view, but we'll storm through some of these. No pun intended. We got Tony Storm and Thunder Rosa. I think this is Tony Storm's best match in the Timeless Tony gimmick. I think this is our best match as Timeless Tony. Still a few shenanigans, but overall, like, it reminded you that Tony Storm is actually a really good wrestler. And I feel like the Timeless Tony gimmick, like, I'm not as down on the gimmick as I know some people are. I like the gimmick for entertainment purposes, but when it comes to translating that into the match, I think it's hokey. It's hokey as hell. I'm not like I like the gimmick. I think the gimmick's pretty fun, but just like the matches were hokey as hell. But I'd say this match is it's a massive step in the right direction. In terms of like what a Timeless Tony match should look like going forward. And it reminds you that Thunder Rosa, like, it's weird. I feel like a lot of people, I think a lot of people, this is wrestling in general, but a lot of people have these weird parasocial relationships with like wrestlers where they take on board their beef, because it was like, I know the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa thing happened and people started picking sides and a lot of people started shitting on Thunder Rosa. And it was like Thunder Rosa was out for a long period of time. But it reminds you that Thunder Rosa was like pretty good. Like, she was pretty good. I didn't have her as like the best wrestler in the division, but Thunder Rosa was like a really solid wrestler. And yeah. And so like having her a part of the mix is good. I just want to see.
Britt's cleared, by the way. Apparently.
Yeah.
She's cleared. Yeah. She's cleared. I think that we won't see her until after Double or Nothing. I think that I don't think we're going to see her till after then. But I wouldn't be surprised if they put her in there with Mercedes.
Yeah, I think that's a few to make.
Yeah, because I think that Stat will turn on what's her name, Willow, at the pay-per-view. Mercedes will win, and then they'll go straight to Britain. So I'm telling you this right now. Okay, she is going to eat Mercedes up, bruv. Not even. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be so nasty. Like, they might as well just turn her heel now, like Mercedes. They put her with the Bucks and Okada. Just do something, because Britt is going to eat her up. It's not going to be nice at all.
Yeah, it's gonna be messy. It's gonna be.
And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see.
I love Britt. It's great.
Yeah. Let's see. Tony was hooping yesterday, and Thunder Rosa reminded me of how good she was. Exactly, Navy. Big up Big Man Dogs. I feel like you could integrate her gimmick into her matches by having her do a bunch of super old school moves. Potentially.
I don't know.
Maybe that. Maybe.
Doing an abdominal stretch or a fucking nerve pinch. What?
Maybe. But yeah, I think this match was a step in the right direction.
Body slam, yeah. Or a hip toss.
Well, yeah. In regards to the women's division, we'll see. I'm just waiting for Jamie. I know Jamie's not cleared yet, but I'm just waiting for her because I feel like she's been a while.
My son said to me it was Revolution last year. It's the last match she had. I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah, it's been over a year, and obviously, like, I'm just waiting for whatever Athena's got on ROH to wrap up, and they love her down there, but yeah, but whatever she's got to go in there to wrap up, because she's damn good, and do you know what it is? I just want, at bare minimum, forget the storylines. I don't really care. Like, obviously storylines are great, they're important. I'm not saying they're not important, but just give me good matches, man. Just give me great matches. Like, that's especially for a pay. Just give me great matches. Like, I'll be fine. Like, I'll live.
Yeah. Do you want to know something as well? That Athena thing, as much as she's on Ring of Honor and stuff like that, but she's not young. Like, she's kind of wasting some good years over there, not working on TV. You know, there's only so much bump. There's only so much bump she's got left in her, sort of thing. Yeah, she's best off trying to do them in front of the most people possible. So that's a shame, really.
Yeah, man. Obviously, like, you know, you had Azumi, AA for people, Azumi / AZM on Collision. Obviously, I know they're setting up like whatever remnants of that Stardom roster is there for like Forbidden Door show. By the way, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but like the Rossi Ogawa stuff, like we could talk about that next week because there's some interesting news over there. But I don't know if it's newsworthy or just speculation. But,
it's a speculation. I mentioned something to you a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned it to you in our group chat. I just find it amusing. I don't know. We'll speak about it another time.
Yeah, but even aside from Rossi's like the allegations, just him making another promotion and basically just taking Stardom talent, which is what he was fired for, anyways.
Yeah. He proved them right. He proved them right.
Which is what you fired for. So he's taking a lot of the top stars and be like, yeah, I'm going to make something new. But whatever's remaining of that Stardom roster.
I tell you what's going to be interesting. The fact that he's been, he's pretty much been accused of being a nonce, isn't he? And, which stories have been going around for fucking years about that cunt. But, I mean, it'd be interesting because even people that work for the WWE think he's a nonce. And it'd be interesting to see if they even want to work with him at this point. They don't mind a bit of that though. So they'll be fine working with Rossi Ogawa in his promotion anyway. You know, it's all good.
That's Navy. We talked about the Rossi Ogawa and Joshi culture in general on Indie Takers. quick plug right there. But yeah,
Quick plug. Check out Indie Takers.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole Rossi, and Kenny Omega had a few stern words for him on his Twitch stream, which I do. He alluded to a lot of things, put it that way.
Yeah, you know, that's Joshi culture in general. Since I was paying attention to it years ago, was always
weird. Yeah. But we'll move on. We'll move on to something that I'm sure we are dying to talk about. Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. My word.
Hang on, you talk for a minute. Hang on, give me a sec.
Cool. My word, this match was... When this match was announced, it was like, okay, match of the year contender easily. And I'll be very transparent with you guys, yeah. I've been kind of dejected from wrestling. Like, it's been a while. Been like kind of just in and out of wrestling. Especially AEW Weekly TV. I'm like, eh. So coming up to this match, I was watching this match. I was like, I knew it was going to be good. But I know the phrase "restore the feeling." This is why I watch pro wrestling. You can have your moments, and this isn't even like to shade anyone. This is what I like in wrestling. This is for me. You can have the spectacles, the pyros, all of that, the 12-minute promos, all of that. Nothing for me matters more than stuff like this. This is why I watch wrestling. This is why, like, when I truly called myself a wrestling fan was when I used to watch, I don't know, this doesn't like the company, but TNA, and I used to watch X Division matches, and I used to see AJ Styles, and I used to watch New Japan and see Okada, and I used to watch Ring of Honor on the wrestling channel and watch Samoa Joe and American Dragon. This is the type of stuff I will always come to in wrestling. Yes, I love a flashy entrance. I love a promo. I love all of that. But this right here is the pin. Like, oh my goodness! Like, and Dave put out a quote today. Said he thought this match was. He said he thought this match was better than Kenny Ospreay at Forbidden Door.
Okay.
And he said he doesn't think this match is better than it, but he thinks this match is on the level of like a Kenny Okada 4. I disagree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree with that one, but I do agree that this is a better match than Kenny Ospreay at Forbidden Door. Not Wrestle Kingdom, Forbidden Door.
Mm-hmm. I saw someone sent me a screenshot because I haven't really been on social media today, but I saw Brian Alvarez said that this was the best match in that ever was promoted in the United States, which, I mean, Kenny and Okada 2 was in Canada, so I could just probably accurate.
Really?
Yeah, Kenny and Ospreay 2. Sorry, was in Canada.
It's Kenny Ospreay 2. Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Kenny and Ospreay at Forbidden Door was in Canada, wasn't it?
Was in Canada, yeah.
This may be the greatest match ever promoted in America, the United States of America. But yeah, sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, but I was just gonna say that just from the sequencing, the transition, like this, and then the thing I love, even just like aside from the match itself, what this match was about. I don't need convoluted storylines. And again, people think I'm taking like I just need like wrestling at its purest is a competitive sport. And sometimes all you need to sell a match is I think I'm the best in the world. You think you're the best in the world. Let's prove who's the best in the world. What a concept. Competitive spirit in a competitive sport. That's what I want to see. Yes, I know every match on the card can't be that. I understand that. But it's pure in its purest form. It is that. And there was no nonsense. There was no bullshit. It was just two men absolutely hammer. And another thing as well. The strikes, people say, oh my God, it's choreographed. These men were hitting some absolutely brutal moves.
Yeah.
Like some devastating strikes. And it's just like, we talk about Will Ospreay. We could talk about Will Ospreay is the best in the world. We know this for a fact. But I put out a tweet today. I want people to really pay attention to the year Bryan Danielson's having this year. I want people to, because I feel like Will is undeniable. Will is just so right in your face where it's like it's easy. Danielson wrestled Okada at the Tokyo Dome. Great match. Had a phenomenal match with Zack Sabre Jr. Had some banging matches on Collision with Hechicero and the CMLL guys. Then obviously he had the match with Jun Akiyama. He had the match with Shibata. Then he's had obviously this match. Danielson is building a very, very, very strong case for wrestler of the two front runners are in this match for me, Will and Danielson.
Mm-hmm.
But Daniel and then we've said this at nauseum about how this Danielson run's probably the best run of his career.
Oh yeah, easily.
But the more he keeps adding to this match, it's just, and that Navy said he's gonna wrestle Mystico at some point. If he's gonna wrestle Mystico. This guy is.
If that's the match of Forbidden Door, Mask versus here.
Yeah.
That's my favorite stipulation in wrestling. Mask versus Mask or here versus here. I love it. If they do that match, because he's wanted to lose his hair for ages, like in a wrestling match. So if there's no better person to do that match with than Mystico, that'd be insane at Forbidden Door.
Yeah. And just that spot, the spot I loved at the end where it was at the Hidden Blade versus the Busaiku knee.
Yeah.
Just that old Western gunslinger. Oh my God. Yeah. Knowledge your thoughts on the match, man.
Yeah, I thought it was right. I figured that. I mean,
talking about me, I'm just gonna grab a drink. Bear with me. Keep going.
I think the expectations for that match were super high, and anytime expectations for a match is super high, I always worry about the wrestlers in it because the pressure is just insane. But not with these two though. Not with these two. These two guys are just different, and Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson are two of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. I always said that Kenny Omega was the greatest wrestler I've ever seen. Like, never seen anyone better than him. But these two are close, and I've been thinking since I've watched this match, maybe one of these two might be the greatest wrestler I've ever seen. It's just that match that I watched was just, I don't even know. It was way better than I could have even imagined. It was just that good. Some of the spots, I mean, that was just perfect pro wrestling. It really was just perfect pro wrestling. I mean, and I see people talking about Will Ospreay not being able to. I've seen it for years, so it's not even a new thing about the fact that he doesn't know how to sell, and he doesn't know. Watch the selling in that match. Look at the way he sells his arm. Look at the way he does a Styles Clash. He done a one-arm Styles Clash because he couldn't, because Bryan Danielson had kicked the shit out of his arm. Look at his strikes. He had to. Oh, you're back. All right. I'm talking about Will Ospreay selling and how good he is at selling, because people claim that he's not. You know what's crazy, NK, is people. I see wrestling fans online talking about selling nowadays. You know what irritates me as well is when they talk about, they confuse bumping with selling.
Bumping and selling.
That really fucking irritates me. They say, "Oh, that was a great sell," and it's just a guy taking a flat back bump. So it's not a sell. He's just taking a bump.
He's bumping.
But what irritates me is I hate the fact that wrestling fans, it's not even wrestling, it's mostly people that are just used to one particular style. They are so, anytime someone does something out of the box and sells differently, they think it's wrong. It's the same way people say Ishii doesn't know how to sell, when Ishii is one of the greatest sellers in pro wrestling that I've ever seen. And you know what it is? I hate when, especially the old lot, the old wrestlers, they talk about,
psychology.
They talk about psychology and stuff like that. And it's like, look, there's different ways to do different things all over the world. Exactly. If you watch a match in Mexico and you watch the match in Arena Mexico, the psychology is going to be completely different there than it will be in Madison Square Garden for a WWE crowd. The same way that if you watch the UWFI match from the 90s, that psychology is going to be completely different. When you watch Takada against Vader, for an example, from UWFI, that psychology is going to be completely different to Ric Flair against Ricky Steamboat. It's just different shit. There isn't one way to do things. So when people say, oh, this guy doesn't sell in a realistic way, he should sell like Randy Orton. Look, wrestling isn't real. And if you watch a real fight, you'll never see a guy take a bump, like get knocked down and him laying on the mat for ages or whatever, then getting up. Guys, look at Ishii. When Ishii takes a move and he jumps back up again and he starts going, bro, how many times you watched a real fight where a guy gets a really good left hook to the face? What does he do?
He reacts and then just
keeps to it, and he keeps going, right? He keeps going. Sometimes he's even dazed and he might need to take a standing 8, but a lot of the time they take shots and they keep going. That is realistic selling. So when I see Ishii,
nobody takes a shot and it's like,
yeah, no one does. They don't sell in a realistic way. It's like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a cunt. Like, look, it's like, look at the way Ishii takes a suplex and he gets right back up. It's that adrenaline. He gets back up, and he'll do a move, and then he'll go back down again. Do you know why? From the initial move that was delivered to him, and that makes sense. It's adrenaline. It's all that stuff. So when I see people say Ospreay doesn't sell, bro, look at the way Danielson kicked the shit out of his arm, and his arm was dead. So he did a one-arm Styles Clash, bro, because he couldn't use his arm. It's like, and then I seen, people, because Danielson gave him the Regalplex and he jumped straight back up and he did the whole roaring thing, and he hit Danielson with an elbow, and it's just like, it's okay. It's like, guys, if you take a move, you're not going to lay there on the mat for ages selling. It doesn't work that way. It's like, there are different ways to do things. The way Bret Hart sold the turnbuckle is different to the way Shawn Michaels sold the turnbuckle. Everyone does things differently. There isn't, you might like the PC, the factory, where everyone is taught how to do the same shit the same way. But wrestling hasn't never been like that, and it will never be like that. It will never be uniformed in that way. We need individuality. There are more ways to do shit. That's my point. And I watched that match, and it was just such a good match. I watched this match, and I was just like, man, the way the audience reacted to them, as soon as
that's the most important thing. And that's the most important thing. Like, it's like, people will say, but this match, that. But the most important thing is, did the crowd pop?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
I hate that as well. You'll see these goose on Twitter or whatever talking about, oh, this sucked. And, there'll be an arena full of people going crazy, and they'll be telling you why something is bad. It's not. Look, these old goofs, these grifters on podcasts will do the same thing as well. They'll sit there talking about how something doesn't work and why it's bad, when they'll be referring to a match. they'll be referring to a match in front of a packed out arena with all these people watching it, going crazy, and they'll talk about why it's bad and why it doesn't work. It's like, no, you're full of shit. You're a grifter. That's all you're doing. That match was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. It's definitely one of the best matches I've ever seen. I'm not going to say it was the best match I've ever seen in North America, in the United States of America, because I can't think right now. But it was a fantastic match. Phenomenal. Match of the year, would you say?
Easy.
Best match so far? Yeah, I think so.
Easily. I think the match I had before this match happened as my match of the year was Bryan versus Zack Sabre Jr. But I think this is kind of eclipsed that. I think, it's kind of eclipsed that. It just had a lot more like that. It was just a lot more dramatic, and obviously that Bryan Zack match was as much. I do love technical wrestling. I love technical wrestling, but like this was more up my alley stylistic wise. Just like I love when two wrestlers. I think the best matches for me are when you get wrestlers of contrasting styles. That's why like, for example, Zack Sabre Jr. and Ospreay work so well together. That's why even Okada Omega worked so well together. That's why Shingo and Ospreay worked well together. They had two opposing styles that just like meshed into like an amazing match. But this match was phenomenal, man. This is the first time where I'm like, I cannot wait to go back and rewatch the match. I'll probably rewatch the match at some point this week.
I will. Yeah, definitely. I was watching it. That audience was just
electric.
Electric. The first match too, actually, the Pac and Okada match, they were so into that as well. But this match was a different level. This was
For real.
Legendary wrestling audience for that match. It was so good.
Yeah.
And also, you know, let me tell you something. People talk about Ospreay. I've seen a lot of negative stuff about Will Ospreay recently, you know, mostly from people that are upset about his comments towards Triple and stuff like that. Oh, you know, he's work shy, you know, shit like that. It's like, Jesus, man.
I don't think people understand, yeah.
They don't know.
The athlete that people say, oh my god, it's gymnastics. Do you know how hard some of that, like, to wrestle in general, like, there's a reason why we watch it and we don't do it. Wrestling is hard, but cool. But there's levels to this shit. The stuff Ospreay was doing,
He's another one. Makes it so easy.
It's insanity. Like that twisting corkscrew he does off like the top rope to the outside of the ring. Sensational. Like Ospreay does stuff. He's like, Ospreay's on a level where I haven't seen a wrestler this inevitable in the States in a long time. He's just so inevitable. Like, you know, when Ospreay goes out, it's a 4.5 star.
Oh yeah,
just because. And it can only go up it can only either stay as a 4.5 or go up. Ospreay is going to, and I remember Ospreay is going to have a year. I think Ospreay since probably 2022, each year we're like, this is his best year. No, last year's his best year. And already we're into 2024. I'm like, he's probably gonna have a better year than he did last year.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then obviously big up Joe Lanza from the Flagship podcast. He said, Ospreay is the modern era Ric Flair. How do you feel about that comment? So it's like the modern day Ric Flair.
It's the best comparison you can think of, especially last year. He went around the world giving everyone their greatest matches. That's what Ric Flair used to do. You know, he's at a, no one can touch Will Ospreay. You know, the man went on a world tour last year, went to promotions, random.
No, he ran from the grind, bro.
Yeah, he ran from the grind. Yeah, he ran from the grind. I saw Seth Rollins work that Mania, those 2 Mania shows hurt. And I saw that Drew worked those Mania shows hurt as well. That's what the grind does for you. Fucking makes you have surgery for 2 months. And besides, you know, Ospreay, if you talk about grind, look at that guy's last few years. Holy shit.
The output is ridiculous. I think he works too hard.
I think he works too. I was on here talking about the Carl Fletcher match. He gave Carl Fletcher that great, fantastic match. And I like Carl Fletcher, but I think Ospreay gave him too much. It gets to a point where it's like, you know, there's no need for that. You know, really, giving the guy that much, you know. But yeah, the guy's just one of the best I've ever seen. He might even be the best I've ever seen. I was thinking about it today, him or Danielson or Omega, because Kenny's the greatest wrestler I ever saw. But Danielson, good as he's been, you know, and I'll say it again, you know, that WWE run, as you know, as much as he did the best he possibly could have during that run, but you know, they robbed us of his prime. I'll say it over. They robbed us of his prime. While he was in his prime years, he was there having matches with Kane and fucking Mark Henry and shit like that. And it's just such a shame. And you know, he done really well, and it's great that he done that. And he should really be proud of himself for doing as well as he did in that promotion. But they stole his prime from us. Could you imagine if, you know, if he wasn't there? Oh my goodness. In
those G1s in 2016, 2017, 2018.
He's a wrestler. He's a professional wrestler. He's not a goat. He's not a fucking flying goat. He's not doing all this fucking guy was in the Wyatt family for a bit, and then he was doing the stuff with Kane, and then he had the wooden title belt and shit, and that's all cute and stuff like that, but nah, man, we're talking about real wrestling here, bro. We're talking about real Graps, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
nah, man.
Niggas talking about, you know, I love the Planet Championship run. It's like, yeah, cool, but we're better than this now. It's not about that, bro. I'm sure it's fun. I'm sure it was fun for him, and you know, but nah. He's one of the best wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go through these comments. Big up everyone in the comment section right now.
Everyone in the comment section.
Yeah, Navy says fighting spirit.
And they don't understand fighting spirit either, by the way.
No, they don't.
They don't understand fighting spirit. They just think two cunts are standing in the ring, slapping each other. It's like you don't understand what's going on, and it's fine. You don't understand it, but there's a reason why it's happening. And
I think fighting spirit is going to become the new long-term storytelling and the most misused words in the wrestling community.
Yeah.
Long-term
storytelling. Holy shit. My God.
Yeah, that's one of the most misused words in one of the misused terms.
They don't even know what long-term storytelling is.
No. The way Knowledge said you're a cunt.
Do you want to know something? I tell you what, I'm from Northwest London, all right? I never used that term until I met my missus and I moved up here in Essex. And in Essex, everyone's a cunt. My father-in-law, if you ever meet my father-in-law, everything's cunt. That is cunt.
Yeah. Which is where Osprey's from. Well, not Northwest Essex, but he's an Essex boy. So
when he was on Rest Things, how much times did he say cunt?
Yeah, he said that so many times. Great interview, man. The shameless plug. Always go back to the Will Ospreay interview. I'll say it on here. I think it's one of the best wrestling interviews you'd see out there.
I'm not even saying that because I was on it, but that is up there in terms of as far as podcast episodes involving pro wrestlers. That was really good. He said so much, and great guy, and he was very honest.
Super.
He said super honest, and he was even more honest after we stopped taping. It's a shame. It's a shame we had to stop.
Yeah, and
we had another hour of great content after that, man.
Yeah, honestly, like not even to be like, oh my god, like we've spoken to Ospreay, but I'll say this from that the interaction we had with him that day. What you see is what you really get.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get. Like after chatting to the guy and seeing him briefly in a few shows here and there, like what you see is what you get. Like he's probably like one of the most genuine wrestlers in terms of like he is who he is. He feels like he's a real person. He is who he is.
Yeah, good dude.
Yeah. Let's see right now. I think that kind of you guys can still see me, right?
I can see you. You're
okay,
frozen.
cool. Yeah, great. I'll just read some stuff.
Smoldering.
I can still hear you guys, but I can still see the comments, so it's fine. I think only thing that kind of held it back for me is that I had zero doubts about the outcome. I never really got invested in the false finishes, but the actual match was great. And then we've got MAA. That's with most dinosaur matches these days. Okay. Oh, I need a Ospreay pack rematch and Ospreay versus Phoenix. I'm so excited. Yep, those matches would be great.
They're building up to another one too, Danielson and Ospreay. That finish will lead to another one.
Absolutely. I can't lie. Danielson's a sick guy. He has a fantasy for Caesar selling. He loves it.
That Tiger Drive, it was so safe as well. They shouldn't have replayed it. They replayed it like 5 times, and every time it was just so safe. It was like,
but you know what it is? Idiots online still thought it was like oh my god, Ospreay's so unsafe. He legit injured him.
They're marks. They believe what they see on television. How could you watch that? It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Cool. As I fix my camera, we've got the Young Bucks versus FTR for the AEW World Tag Team Championship.
Shit. Matt Jackson and Dax Harwood killed themselves in that match. My goodness, Dax Harwood worked in that match. I felt bad for that guy. He got his ass kicked. That bump that Matt took when he went ass first through the table and his head smashed the barricade. Holy crap, man. That was insane. That was such a good match. They had a near impossible task of following that Ospreay and Danielson match. And NK, let's be real. Who else is going to follow that match, bro? The Bucks. No one else is following that match. Like, you could get the best acts in history to follow that Danielson match and they struggle. Not the Bucks. They always make it work. Always make it work. That was a really fun match. Really
I can see I'm still frozen, but I'm still here. I can still read you guys' comments. So you're just gonna have to look at the smoldering face for now. But
you're not smoldering anymore, though.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, cool. But yeah, that I was really worried going into this match. Not because I think if I'm being very transparent, the Bucks and the FTR haven't set I'm not gonna say they haven't lived up to my expectations. In fact, no, I'll say they haven't really like as a feud hasn't really like hit the highs I thought it would be. Like I thought like the Bucks and FTR, the two best tag teams in the world, would have like some of the greatest tag team matches ever.
I
And
love
that's
the first one.
the first one was good. I like the
I love
first one.
one.
The
That was
second one was good. The all-in match was quite disappointing, in my opinion. The
Yeah,
all-in
I
match,
agree.
the
I
all-in
agree.
match
That
was
was
quite
disappointing.
disappointing. And then you compare it to like matches they've had outside of these matches, like FTR and the Briscoes. You compare like the multiple
Bucks
matches, the Bucks and anybody, even back in their NXT days, the Revival and DIY, or even if you compare FTR and what's their name, Aussie Open, that happened at Royal Quest. That was a really
Yeah.
good match. So you can make the case that they've had better matches against other opponents.
Jay
Having
White and
said,
Juice Robinson last year on
yeah,
the hour.
absolutely,
They're two really good matches, but the hour
yeah,
one, I love that match.
yeah, two amazing matches.
Yeah.
So having said all of this, go with one and one. This match was excellent, and I think right now, Young Bucks, when it comes to ladder matches, I don't think there's a team that has a better resume of ladder matches.
Phoenix and Penta are good in ladder matches too. I'm not really up for ladder matches. I see them too often. Like
Yeah,
I wish ladder matches would just fuck off for a bit. They're just, I don't know what you can do in a ladder match these days. Like what hasn't been done. They did a really good match though. They like I said, they had to follow Ospreay and Danielson, and I think they did a good job for following that.
yeah.
That
But for the sake of time, we're going to talk about the reason why this match. I mean, the match was great. What a Jack Perry, man! I think honestly, retrospectively, I think this punk fiasco. If there's one benefit from it, it's kind of made me buy Jack Perry as a heel.
Maybe they were. I don't understand. Here's the thing, Enka. I don't understand why. Like, this is me. I don't think he should. What did he do wrong in that video? Why would he be? He should be a babyface.
Yeah, he should.
He should be a babyface. Like, really? What did he do? He comes backstage, guy's in his face. He pulls his hair back, and then the guy pushes him twice and grabs him a bit, and then he gets broken up, and then he's suspended for all these months. He did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. Like, he should be a babyface. I don't understand why he's getting booed. Like, really?
I don't know. It's because I don't know.
It's just because it's CM Punk and people love Punk. I'm not. I think he's a super talented guy, but he's CM Punk.
Yeah. To be fair, MAA says Jack Perry got a babyface ovation. To be fair,
he did actually. In Chicago, he was a heel, but I mean, I had heard for a while that he was going to be hooked up with the Bucks in this new gimmick, and I mean, I don't know what it means for him going forward, but if he's a hot heel when he comes back, do something with him. Put him in a feud with Swerve.
Yeah,
do it.
I think him coming back, him throwing up the elite sign, just the smirk on his face, the beard. This is obviously they turned him heel last year, and that Hollywood Jack Perry stuff. I don't know, that wasn't working for me. It just wasn't working. It worked towards the end, to be fair, with the Hookster feud, and obviously that got cut short because
I thought it was all right. I thought he was all right towards the end.
But the beginning was a bit like, but now, obviously, that this is due to real world circumstances. But him coming out at the Windy City Riot show, the smirk he had on his face. Now, the demeanor around him just seems different. Now we have to see how if it sustains throughout weeks of television. I mean, because it's I mean, a lot of people are hot when they come back, but can you sustain it? That's the big main thing. But I don't know, I'm pretty confident on that what this Jack Perry run looks like. And if you partner him up with Okada in the Elite, I mean, that's a faction right there.
Yeah. But you think about it, if they're EVPs and they've got all the power, they should really just put him in a world title program with Swerve, shouldn't they? Like, really just, you got world title. That's how they should do it. Just fucking do it. Obviously, we won't win, and I'm fine with that. But this, sometimes when a guy
baby him.
back and he's hot, you just gotta make your intentions clear. You put him in that position so that people know exactly where he belongs, sort of thing. Obviously, it's sink or swim at that point. But with those lot behind him and stuff, they could make that work. I'm pretty sure they could make that work.
Yeah,
To get a lot of heat, him and Swerve, if they were going to do that. I thought the finish was really good. I expected it. I mean, we've been talking about that for a while, haven't we? But him coming in at the end, tipping over the ladder. But I hope that they just wrap this up quickly, this whole thing with aligning them together. I don't need 4 weeks of storytelling where they deny that they've got anything to do with Jack Perry. Could we just get them Wednesday to keep it moving? Because AEW stories are fucking way too long.
Yeah, the Bucks should acknowledge him immediately. Like, we've reinstated Jack Perry. It should happen immediately. Like, don't waste time.
Don't waste time. We gotta keep it moving.
Yeah. All right. Cool. We'll fly through the main event. We'll get to the main event. The main event was Swerve Strickland versus Samoa Joe. So I thought, do you know what? Like, I thought it was a solid match. I thought nothing like. Good match. Like, obviously, I don't think it compared to like some like Okada, Pac, or the Young Bucks, FTR, and certainly not Osprey, Danielson. But I thought this was like a really good match, really solid match. And you know what? Like, I know we're going to talk about Swerve, but credit to Joe. This has been a very like solid title run, good title run, man. You know, good, effective title run.
Didn't mean anything for business, but you know what? He was actually pretty good as a champion in terms of what he did, because he's been written off for years, hasn't he, Joe? Being washed up and past it, and they tried to retire him in WWE, but he had a pretty good run. Some good matches too, like really good matches. And you know what? I give credit to them because they kept that audience, because that audience has seen everything. They had everything thrown at them all night, and they were hot for that match.
Yeah. Like, and I think that just speaks to the testament of like people really want to see Swerve win.
Yeah, I was skeptical about putting the belt on Swerve. I think I've spoken about it here. Not that he's not good. I was just skeptical because I feel Osprey is your top babyface, and I feel Osprey needs a title at Wembley. So I felt that if you put the belt on Swerve now, that means he's not going to have a long run, and I think he deserves to get a decent shot at having that thing, and not just being, all right, you're going to have it until this date. Because I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how he gets on.
But yeah, I thought with Swerve, I think it's one of the more like organic runs to the title, where like the guy built momentum. And even one of the parts of the media scrum that I did see was that he was offered the international championship. He was offered the international championship, and he turned it down.
Good.
He turned it down. He said like, no disrespect, but I wanted the world title. I didn't want to kind of be stuck, which is amazing foresight, because I remember there was a lot of discourse around the time of like him when he lost to Orange Cassidy, and then a lot of people were writing him off. It was like, oh my god, what are you doing to Swerve? Swerve's in limbo. And it was just like,
you can't even do a job these days without people thinking that you're being buried.
Yeah, and it was like Swerve's in limbo. Like, what's going on? It's like, he signed in 2022, I believe, at Revolution.
Yeah.
So essentially,
they didn't think he was. They thought he was. They didn't think he was any good. They were like, got nothing. We'll get rid of him.
Yeah. So when we put things into perspective, he's gone straight for. He's gone straight for the world title in 2 years. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was talking to my son about this earlier on, because he used to come over here a lot. Swerve, he was always over here. Yeah, I've seen that guy wrestle friggin'. I've seen him wrestle. I don't even know how many times I've seen Swerve wrestle live, but he was always over here. And I tell you what, that guy used to work his ass off over here. And you can see, I mean, all the promotions that he worked for. And you got to WWE, and as soon as you got to the main roster, they got rid of him. And I tell you what, you see that guy go to AEW, right? And that guy worked, and he worked, and he worked. And you can see all the different shit that he tried, and they put him in. And everything he was given, he got over. It's like the team with Keith Lee. I don't know what people thought was going to happen there, but they had it, and they had it for a while, and it was really good. They were a really good team. And even the stuff with Nana, when they first hooked him up with Kaze and Nana and all that, people were skeptical of that. Got it over. Look at the act now, him and Nana. Nana's a big part of that. Nana is a big part of why Swerve is so over now anyway.
Yeah.
But you talk about two guys that, well, Nana was written off years ago. You talk about a guy sticking with it, and look where he is now. That's another guy who worked his ass off and grinded. You talk about guys running from the grind. He never ran from the grind. And now look at him. You know, he really, really stuck to it. And he's a talented guy too. But Swerve is a great example of someone just continuously picking himself up.
Yeah,
dust himself up and keep working because
and those are the words he actually. It's funny, so he keep working because that's literally what he said in the media scrum. He was like,
really?
like he literally is what you said. I just kept working, just put my head down, focus. Like there was no time for sleep. Like he said, I'd show up to shows like a day early just to like get shit sorted out. And it paid off, and you can see like the investment that they had in him, and it was like. It's like sometimes as wrestling, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying wrestling fans we're not allowed to have opinions. Of course, we can react to a show one week and next week, but I think a lot of the Swerve's discourse about him being buried. I remember Big Man Dog says, I remember people saying Swerve was buried from losing to Sting at Derby and All In. It's like,
I'll do a job.
It's like, now that it's been a very intentional rise from Swerve, and it's been 2 years, and it's been 2 years of like just and a lot of people, I'll say a lot of people were like, oh my god, when's our first black AEW champion coming? And I was like, people were throwing names out there. I won't say the names because I don't want to like
say the names.
Okay, people were saying names like Scorpio Sky and just like, and those are great wrestlers, but I always said, wait, the person will come. The person will come, and the thing is, it's like Swerve is undeniable. Like when Swerve won this title, it wasn't like we may have our skepticisms, we may have like concerns about how his future title reign will go, but like he naturally got over, organically got over with the crowd. Like it's undeniable.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned All In. At All In, I remember being in the building. How over Swerve was.
Big time.
How over he was, and that was the day I realized, he's going to be like he is the real deal. So, like,
and
it's happened.
And now there's a black AEW champion, which is something that they didn't promote on their TV leading up to it, which I find quite interesting because you could argue that previous promotions had exploited the black guy going for a world title. I've seen it for decades now at this point, but AEW, he mentioned it a couple times on television, but AEW never promoted it. And even when he won it, they never said it outright, which is, like I said, it's quite interesting. It's not exploitive in the slightest. But I've seen people shit on Tony Khan for years about not having a black world champion. This is from the early days of the promotion. And I've always, me and you've had this conversation before where I was like, well, who the fuck was it going to be? Who was going to be the black world champion in the early days of AEW? Who could they have gotten back then that was, you've got guys like Kenny Omega and Moxley and Jericho. Who could you get at that point to even be seen as at the same level as them? And obviously you can promote guys, but there was no one there. At that point, WWE had snapped up all the fucking talent at that point, and AEW was literally left with Simon, who was left.
Quick correction, they did acknowledge, they mentioned it on the pay-per-view. Yeah, they did mention Swerve being like the first. They did, yeah.
Oh, did they? All right, my bad. Well, that's good anyway. But like I said, it wasn't built up it wasn't promoted in the build-up as being somewhat exploitive. But WWE had all this talent at the beginning of before AEW had even started. As soon as that was announced, as soon as there was rumors about AEW started, WWE signed up whoever they could at that point just to, store them down in the closet in Orlando. Luckily, though, Vince McMahon didn't think a lot of these guys were good, so he just got his ass, cut all these guys. Swerve, fucking piece of shit. Keith Lee, who cares? Adam Cole, he's too short. We'll make him a manager. Let's get rid of him. But I guarantee you, if he was available at the start of AEW, he'd have been here anyway. He would have been here because I know that they thought highly of him back then. Keith Lee as well. They thought highly of Keith Lee back then, but obviously Keith Lee has gone through so much. He's not the same guy anymore. But if Keith Lee was 2017, 2018 Keith Lee, that guy would be a main event guy in AEW. Yeah. But unfortunately, poor guy. It's just not. He can barely work singles matches. Poor Keith Lee. Obviously, he's injured now, isn't he, with his knees? But I will say this Swerve, man, talk about hard work. That guy used to be over here at all these shows. I saw him wrestle Marty Scurll in front of like 100 people once, and they had this match. It was such a good match. I saw him wrestle one of the best matches I saw live ever. It was so much fun. It was him, Ryan Smile, and Leo Rush against the Bucks and Kenny Omega. When I tell you that match was so much fun, like I can't even explain to you how much fun that match was. It was hilarious. Those guys, they worked to an extent, but it was just an hilarious match. And I saw him wrestle Kushida, and I saw him wrestle Kyle O'Reilly over here as well. Actually, I've seen him wrestle a lot. The guy he was a nice guy too. Always at the tables, talking to anyone who wanted to talk to him. He'd give people free pictures and stuff. He wouldn't charge people for pictures. Just happy to interact with people. Always seemed like a nice guy. And I always say this: when wrestlers are at the tables and wrestlers are talking, you can always tell. I always think that wrestlers who are nice to fans, like Cody was a great example. I've seen Cody Rhodes loads of times live and watched him interact with people. Like you can always tell when a guy is going to go far in wrestling by the way they deal with their fans and the way they treat their fans. And Swerve was at that level to me when you see him interact with fans. He was like Cody and the Bucks, the way they interacted with their fans. I've seen the Bucks remember people's names, which is insane to me that you'd remember someone's name from months ago. And that's just the mentality that these guys have of just, this showing people that you want people to invest in you, don't you? You want people to invest in you. And we were invested in Swerve, and the fact that he is where he is now, mate, there's an accomplishment to be in that company with as big a stars as AEW's got, with the work rate wrestlers that they've got, and he's the world champion.
Yeah, I remember even in this video, somebody mentioned that they thought Pac. I mean, Pac should have been, but like the fact that he's like leapfrogged guys like Pac and all these
2 years.
Yeah, in 2 years, like he's leapfrogged so many people who've like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's a testament to like just what he's done.
There'll be guys at work they're shitting on him right now. This is how it is. There'll be guys on Wednesday in the dressing room talking about, I should have had the belt if I would have. That's just how wrestling is. They will be, but I bet you that one thing that everything that they gave him, he made it work. He doesn't have a reputation for being a complainer and moaning and bitching. He just gets on with it, and that is a fucking talent in itself.
Speaks volumes, man.
Yeah, it really does. I'm happy for him. I'm not. Yeah, it's good. It's really good that he's in the position where he is. He's such a talented guy as well. I have spoke. I'm not keen on his promos and a lot of stuff that he does.
There's still work to be done, but
sometimes you just got to do it. Sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith. Look what New Japan did with Okada years ago, or they did with Vader, and WWE did it with Kevin Nash. I mean, that fucking failed, but I mean, they tried, and WCW did it with Goldberg. Oh, fuck, that failed as well. But sometimes you just got to give it a shot, and you just got to go with it. And I rate the fact that they've done it and they just given it a shot. Let's see what happens.
For sure, man. For sure. And it's a guy where it's like, not to that, rather, like, you see where he left and you see the people who's around that hit row. Obviously, no fault of their own. Well, some of it might be, but like I thought, like you just see that what he's done, even in NXT. Like I was watching it because my exposure to Swerve was through Lucha Underground as Killshot, and obviously the very like popular match he had with AR Fox. That was my exposure to Swerve. So when I saw him,
I watched that recently with my kid, and that match is absolutely insane. I haven't seen it for years. You know me, I only watch matches once. I don't really go back and watch a lot of this stuff again. But man, Dave, talk about guys working too hard.
That match was insane. So when I saw him in NXT, I was hopeful, but he didn't really do much as he didn't really do much in NXT. So when he came to AEW, I was like, where does this guy fit in? And I remember, big up Renz. I think he debuted on the same show as. Did he debut? No.
He debuted at Revolution. He came out.
Revolution,
He was a signing. Do you remember Jay Lethal was a signing before?
Yeah, Jay Lethal was a signing before, and it was like, what's this guy's ceiling? And then I think everyone kind of predicted his ceiling to be that international picture, because when he lost that, it was kind of like, oh my god, it's over for Swerve, because that's what we pictured him to be, not knowing that there were better, greener pastures ahead. So yeah, man.
I will say this. I just want to say this. I know we're running out of time. I just want to say this.
Yeah.
I don't know where Hangman is. Well, Hangman apparently has had another baby, so that's why he's gone. But whenever he comes back, because he told us that he was never going to let Swerve win the world title, so I'm a bit disappointed that.
Yeah,
that's one thing I'll say, is that I kind of wish that Hangman hadn't let him win the world title. I think the person that he should have beat for the world title should have really been Hangman Page, and maybe that was the plan before. Maybe Hangman was supposed to win the world title at the three-way and then lose it to Swerve, because I just think that makes sense as a story, doesn't it?
Narratively,
yeah. So we're not done with that feud anyway. When Hangman comes back, he's going to be out for Swerve's blood, isn't he?
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. But overall thoughts on the pay-per-view, man. Lasting thoughts on the pay-per-view.
It's a great pay-per-view. Once you get matches like the Danielson match and the Okada match and the ladder match, and there's 3 fantastic matches or whatever, and nothing was bad on the show. I mean, I know you didn't like the Jericho match, but that wasn't a horrible match.
No, I was
just it was a bit long and whatever. But I mean, AEW. I mean, fuck, who promotes better pay-per-views than AEW? Really?
Yeah, AEW's hit rate for pay-per-views is actually disgusting.
Yeah, even the shows that people say are bad, they're not really bad. They're bad by their standards. But if someone else promoted that show and had the matches on, people would be happy with the show. AEW I think they've got the best track record of any promotion on pay-per-view that ever existed.
For sure.
What WCW shows, I've seen all of them. Which WCW shows are better than, none of them. Bash 89 was a great show, but wasn't as good as some of the AEW shows. Even this one today wasn't as good as the one today. And WWE, they've got some great shows in its history, but AEW got better shows than WWE.
Yeah. You guys should collab with Ranting Wrestling. I'm a huge fan of Ranting Wrestling. He's a good content creator. We'll make that happen. No, he's predominantly a New Japan content creator, but he's like really good, like really knowledgeable, knows his stuff. But he's really good content.
I'm so down on New Japan. I'm actually happy I wasn't here last week.
Yeah. AEW pay-per-views I feel like their hit rate is just like ridiculous, and like you get like, I think one of these days we're gonna have to like sit down, not just talk about what's the best pay-per-view, but like some of the all-timers we've gotten on like pay-per-view on these pay-per-view shows, because like you've arguably got one of the best tag team matches of all time at Revolution. You got one of the best retirement matches of all time in last month's in Revolution. You've got like just some of the best one of the best steel cage matches you ever see. Like the hit rate in terms of like the quality matches you get on AEW, bloody hell.
Oh yeah, the ladder match. My favorite ladder match was. I know I'm not keen on ladder matches, but I think my favorite one was the Penta and Phoenix against the Bucks ladder match.
All Out. I think that was like the first ever All Out. Yeah, I remember that one.
That was a fantastic ladder match. So
phenomenal.
Creative. Yeah,
phenomenal.
So creative.
I mean, this is what it's about, man. This is what it's about. Like, yeah, the pay-per-views are long, but it's like when I get matches like these, like I can't complain.
I don't complain about them being long at all. I think that when you promote pay-per-views, you want to give people value for money. So if you're charging people $50, you want to give them as much as you can. Just give it to them. Like I said before earlier today, WWE, let us know that wrestling was worth $9.99 or whatever. Even WrestleMania is worth $9.99. So when you promote a pay-per-view, you got to give people more than what you got to give them, as much as you can. People that complain about that shit ain't paying for it anyway. It's like niggas at home saying, "Oh, they did too long." It's like, nigga, you ain't showing up on money.
Yeah. But on that note, man, this has been an amazing episode of Commissioner's Corner. I think this is our longest episode, but it deservedly so. It was a great pay-per-view.
Shit.
Yeah, man.
It's my fault because I had to finish this show, so that's why we're starting late. Next week it won't be like this, but yeah. What are we talking about next week?
Next week, we could do the Vince stuff.
Yeah, cool. Let's talk about Vince McMahon next week.
Let's talk about Vince McMahon next week.
We should talk about his new promotion too. If he's going to do that, we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. But yeah, man, make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching live, thank you for tuning in. And if you're watching on the replay, make sure to be in the comment sections. Make sure to subscribe to Restings. Make sure to become a member. You get access to exclusive content and our Discord. Make sure you tune into the various shows we have on the Restings platform, such as the Indie Takers, and our flagship podcast. This has been NK. It's been Knowledge. We are signing out. We will catch you next week. Peace, guys.